Alright everyone, we start off today talking a little bit about cryptocurrency. These moves just further confirm what I said a couple of years ago when Mark Zuckerberg was trying to make that Libra coin or whatever it was called. You remember that when Facebook was partnering with a bunch of other major corporations and they were going to make one specifically centralized cryptocurrency? You remember how the US government came out and without passing a law or insinuating illegality said, "That's not a good idea, Mark." And immediately half those companies withdrew from the plan and it fell through and now, it's dead in the water. The writing was on the wall then, and everything that's happened since then with regards to crypto regulation, taxes, and so forth has conformed to this idea, which means, I believe by now it's been corroborated, the federal government's not trying to outlaw crypto. It's not trying to regulate it out of use or anything like that. If anything, over time, you're likely to see it become more useful, not only because of private market movements, but government nudging it in that direction. They're simply trying to make it impossible for anyone to use it to become more wealthy or to escape from the normal fiscal confines. They're trying to corporatize crypto. I'll explain that. Now, first and foremost, link in the description, this is a Twitter thread by somebody explaining the basics of the situation. They're trying to insert regulatory language into the infrastructure bill, the $3.5 trillion shovel down 2.0 gargantuan bullshit that Biden wants. Yeah, that one. the one that will provide no long-lasting good to the country, cost a huge amount of money, and drive inflation to probably double what it is over the coming years. That one. There will also be a pinned comment down below if you're watching this video on YouTube with links to 4 other sites that I use to host videos. Keep in mind I make 2 exclusive videos every day that don't make it onto YouTube, sometimes due to content or just to overflow. Now, read this good. Read the Twitter thread. I don't think you have to have a Twitter account to read Twitter threads. I think. Not 100% sure, but whatever. The whole idea of this particular language, and the reason why I say that there's shenanigans is because it's potentially interpreted multiple ways. That means differential enforcement. The tax code is littered with this. The idea is that you can interpret a business in multiple ways. So if you have the money to bribe the IRS or a senator or something, you get differential treatment. Do small businesses get that? Or sole proprietors? No. This is why it's difficult for people in the United States to break through now. It's the opposite of the initial capitalism that we had, which rewarded intelligent and skilled, hardworking people, and it gave them the ability to work their way up. What happened, as of the Gilded Age and the progressive era after that with the first wave of true meaningful regulations on U.S. business, what happened is that we started sawing off every other rung on the ladder of upward mobility, making it harder and harder for people to ascend, unless they were getting a hand up from people that were already at the top. This is fundamentally how globalism works. The financial institutions would still be able to operate with crypto. PayPal would not have a problem. Venmo will not have a problem. Your bank won't have a problem. They may have the smaller bank could, but the larger banks, the internationals, the Chase and Deutsche Bank and shit, the ones that cause fiscal crisis after fiscal crisis and often fuck their investors in the ass, they'll still be able to deal with crypto because they'll get differential treatment. What this would do is label anyone engaging in regular transactions, handling and facilitating transactions, would be a broker. There would be tax forms involved, which under the current iteration of how crypto works in many cases wouldn't physically be possible for people doing it. It would affect miners. Now, who would still therefore be mining cryptocurrency? Who has the army of lawyers necessary and the connections to Congress necessary to make sure that the law is interpreted in their specific cases as being very hedonistic and bohemian and laissez-faire and hands-off? The multi-billion-dollar bank, again, with corporate interests, lobbies going to Congress, and the friends with the governor, the friends of the president, or you? Well, clearly the former. Here's the problem. The code is being proposed in a vacuous manner to fuck you in the ass. Not to get you to stop using crypto. If anything, down the road 5-10 years from now, digital currency, hell, they might do away with paper money. They'll say, well, it causes disease to spread. Now you have to have your government-issued crypto. They're going to try to price you and me out of the market by making it impossible for us to actually generate new cryptocurrency, to actually facilitate and use cryptocurrency without doing so through a major corporate or banking entity. That's the end goal. Their end goal is not to wipe crypto out, it's to turn it into crypto fascism. In which case, because what happened years ago is with the first Bitcoin bubble, essentially. You had thousands of people who held Bitcoin, they had invested small amounts of money, and they got rich. They gained upward mobility. They became exempt from the system. It's called fuck you money. Now many of those people remain so rich, they don't have to deal with shit anymore. They don't have to work. They don't have to slave away. They can invest money. They've become the one percenters. But they don't want that many people to become that wealthy. It scares them. You had people who made hundreds of millions of dollars and now have potentially political capital, and a lot of these people, libertarians and weird hippie types like survivalists and shit. This terrifies the starch suits on Wall Street and the coke snorters in D.C., it terrifies them because they're not supposed to have upward mobility. They're the little people. They're supposed to be the slaves. They're the 99%. They're supposed to work to produce things to sell to one another while we manipulate the currency, and we are the ones that fleece the value off the top to make sure that everyone else stays in line, so that they're reliant upon the cradle-to-grave socialist system that globalism has incorporated. This is now the case in many countries. And in the countries where it's not the case, it's arguably worse. Yeah, North Korea is not technically globalist. I think I'd choose the globalism. Anyway, that's what they're trying to do. They're going to try to prevent any upstarts that might actually be using crypto for liberty-loving purposes, for purposes of trying to be outside of the system, to give people independence. In some cases, independence of expression. They're going to try to keep them out. This is also an attack on sites like Odyssey, where you have those transactions going on, because technically, if you didn't have the lawyers and the lobbying power to argue in front of a senator, hey, get the IRS off my back, you could be declared to be guilty of all sorts of federal tax evasion charges. So in other words, Odyssey fundamentally would stop existing. They'd have to get off the blockchain, I guess, and go and be a normal hosting site. They'd have to be more like Rumble or something. You wouldn't see any new Bitcoin billionaire sort of things going on. The market would be hyper-regulated, influenced by corporations. They would screw with it, using middlemen to do insider trading. We know that this goes on all the time. You'd have politicians buying in. Now, the other thing, they'll be if they pass this, my hope is the infrastructure bill fails. The Republicans are crazy if they don't force the Dems' hand and block this in normal Senate procedures. They are nuts if they actually vote for $3.5 trillion in spending. If this part is removed from it and the bill is shaved massively down, it'd probably pass, and, Buttigieg can run a train, and Biden can play with his little projects and waste a bunch of money, and ultimately the impact will be fairly slight. No hyperinflation, no crypto hyper-regulation or anything. The market will follow its normal trend. I think they're trying to push this through now because they believe that crypto is going to continue to rise and spike again. They're afraid that people that bought in this last lull, or certainly before that, will therefore make huge amounts of money. But if you force them to use Fortune 500 style corporations and the biggest of banks for that final transaction, when they finally trade in the Bitcoin that they've hoarded, their Cardano or whatever, and then you levy a huge fee, because you'd have to, because of the taxation of that transaction going on, well, you can prevent them from becoming rich. They might still make out like bandits, but there aren't going to be any Bitcoin billionaires sitting around because they won't be able to navigate the fucking taxes. They'll probably be prevented from offloading too much crypto over a given period of time by the bank they're working with anyway. Again, unless they are hyper rich. If they're a billionaire, they'll do it through a Swiss bank or at the Cayman Islands. They'll liquidate the assets, they'll launder it, and then the crypto gets dispersed over time at interest to whatever group has laundered for them. They can get their money immediately. All I have to do is grease a few palms here and there. It's rules for thee, not for me. By the way, again, the left will blame this on evil capitalism. Oh, corporations. No, it's not. It is literally socialism. What you are seeing here, hyper-regulation and centrality, is the opposite of the capitalistic standard. That's about all. Peace out.